Welcome to your Legacy Stories podcast with your host, Natalie McQueen. Natalie helps people from all walks of life to create, live and preserve their legacy for future generations to enjoy. She became a legacy designer after a near-death experience that made her completely reevaluate the legacy she was leaving in this world. Natalie also a book publisher who has guided over 500 authors to become international bestsellers. Her mission is to help you craft the legacy you deserve, encourage you to live it to the fullest and then preserve it for future generations to enjoy. On this show, Natalie's guests share moments of purpose, gratitude, wisdom and tradition, and of course, their legacy stories.
And today we have the super famous Miss Lynn Sanders. I'm so excited to talk to Lynn today. Lynn and I met many years ago in another compilation book that I published, and we became friends, and then it ended up that she helped me with my book. So you're going to see all the special things that Lynn does. So Lynn Sanders is the founder of Difference Makers Media, which empowers visionary leaders and organizers or organizations to make a difference through their stories. She is known as the Story Empowerment Coach, having attracted six-figure donations, doubled memberships, and increased followers for her clients. Lynn has also been a best-selling author, award-winning writer, media host, speaker, and promotional consultant who is committed to bringing more positive stories into our world. So thank you so much, Lynn. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you, Natalie, for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah. So we've got lots to talk about today. And one of the things I want to talk about is, you are the story empowerment coach. You're out there helping people bring their stories to life. So why are you so passionate about storytelling?
Great question, Natalie. I have seen the results from storytelling, and I first want everyone to recognize that we all have stories, and
Right.
Our words carry an energetic frequency that actually can touch people's hearts. So you can bring out positive stories and move the emotions. And I'm passionate because I have seen the impact of bringing out stories. And I also recognize, having had a near brush with death myself and having lost several loved ones, that we only have so much time on earth. And you and I, Natalie, are very passionate about leaving legacies. And I realized after losing loved ones, especially my mother, that I wanted more of her stories on tape. I wanted to be able to hear her voice again and see her. And I just have a limited amount. So I wanted more people to realize that they can make a difference and touch people's hearts and minds from their stories. Stories also make us memorable because no one else has your story but you.
Right. And we hear that so much working with people leaving their legacy. They either say, I need to document my life before I can't, or I wish I would have documented, my mom, my dad, my aunt, uncle, grandparents. Because once you pass, those stories go with you. And, it's not really a morbid thing. It's just one of those truths that we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And so don't wait. Pull up a Zoom and press record and share some stories. But then this is where I come in. If you don't tell anyone where those stories are, or post them out for the world to see, or put them in a special folder and let the family know, then that's a problem as well.
Yeah.
There's many people that say they've written books or done this, and then they had them safely stored on their computer, but then they never shared their password.
The other thing I think I just wanted to add is that, whether we realize it or not, we are all being bombarded by negative media right now. Our news is probably like 98% negative. And I know that it affects us all at the soul level. There's high depression, mental health issues, suicide. And yet, if we hear positive stories, our thoughts our mindset, our hearts can be turned in a positive direction. So I wanted to add that another reason I'm so passionate is because I know that we need to overcome the negativity around us by being able to focus on positive stories, which each of us can bring out.
Absolutely. We're all energetic. We all live in whatever vibration you surround yourself in. You're exactly right. If you keep your surroundings, the people you're involved with, what you read, what you put in your head, what you believe, if you keep those positive, you will vibrate at a higher energy and attract those things. I believe that 100%. So
Yeah.
you're exactly right. When we are putting out stories that will inspire people and share a heart or share someone that's doing something good to change the world, that elevates us. And
Right.
then usually are so inspired, we want to go tell someone else about it, right?
Exactly.
It's the art of storytelling. So we know you're passionate about storytelling. Tell us the true power. Like you've touched on it a little bit, but what's the true power behind storytelling?
Good. Well, storytelling is actually touching our heart. So it's not a mind thing. As I was speaking to you earlier, people think that if they tell their story, they should give out their facts of their life. But there's a saying that facts tell and stories sell. And there's a reason, and it's the mind processes stories on the right side of the brain, our creative brain, versus just receptive. So when you share your stories and you tell your stories, people's emotions are moved. The story actually integrates mind and heart together, and it moves people to action. I know many people here may have read some story and decided to donate to a cause because their heart was touched by a story.
Oh, for sure.
And stories also make us memorable. No one else has your story. And stories also have, like we just mentioned a moment ago, have a way of uplifting others. They inspire and transform lives. So sometimes many times you don't realize the power of your story. For instance, when I was able to help a nonprofit get a 6-figure donation, I wanted to help them. I didn't know it would result in that, but they had a great story, and I wrote about it, and it was picked up by both TV and radio and print. And one of those stories got on the front page of the Sunday Chicago Tribune, and our mayor saw it and thought, I want to support this cause of helping prisoners be able to re-enter their community in a positive way. So he just wrote out a check for $100,000.
That's amazing.
Yes.
So think about that. If that hadn't inspired you, you wouldn't have taken those actions, and then they wouldn't have got that money that they can do bigger and better things with.
Right.
That is the power of stories and words and people taking the initiative to put their words and stories out.
I also would like to encourage everyone, no matter what your story is, to, especially when you have a powerful, positive story to share, to have faith, belief, and perseverance in your dreams. Because when I first published my first children's story, I didn't know what impact it would have. I didn't even know if I could get it to a bestseller status, but I decided I was going to just focus on my inner story. And that's something that I didn't even speak to you earlier about, but our inner story affects our outer story. So when we think that we can do it and we put a positive mindset and we work on that every day, that affects how we are on the outside, and that we're happier people.
Oh, for
It
sure.
makes a difference.
And then you attract those happy people.
Exactly. Yeah,
I know. I talk to some of my friends that, work in corporate or, are stuck in kind of sales jobs that they're just not thriving or 100% happy with. And I hear the negativity that they're around, and the people that they're working with are often, complaining about everything. And it's hard for me to understand that, because I every day am surrounded in authors and coaches and speakers that are sharing their stories, making a difference, helping others to make a difference, raising each other up. And it's like, what? I don't get negativity. I'm surrounded in happy people and I love it.
Right. Well, people can choose we all choose our thoughts. I used to think things just happen to us, but we have external events that happen, but we choose our thoughts, our response to anything. So when those people are unhappy, they're living their fears and they're
Right.
attracting more negativity because they're focused on negative thoughts and fears. But we can choose to step out of our fears, choose to be a little uncomfortable, and focus on the possibilities of what can happen in a positive way.
Right. I remember when I was writing my book with your help, and, you know, my near-death experience was hard for me to talk about, and it was kind of a personal experience. So to put it out there for the world, that was really scary for me. And the
Right.
other thing was, you know, I never pictured myself as an author, this, creative writer or whatever. So those were my negative thoughts kind of holding me back. And that's where I feel it's my mission to tell people it doesn't matter your level of writing. It doesn't matter, how you feel, if you can or can't, because with our help and people like you, Lynn, that draw out the story, there's different ways, whether you are interviewed, whether you are coached in writing, whether you take some writing classes and learn the components. Like I know, Lynn, you offer a really cool gift for people that frames out what a story should have and how it should be written. And that really helps people. So with the right team behind you, you can get your story out. But don't let that stop you. If you're like, I don't really know if I have a team around me, you know what, reach out to us, but write it, record it, pull up a Zoom, press record, and share your thoughts and feelings. And then tell someone where that is, tell your family how to get in touch with it. So it's super important, because over and over we hear, I wanted to get more words from them. I wanted to ask them these questions. If I only had another day.
Mm-hmm. Well, we all have the same amount of hours every day, 24 hours, and we get to choose how to spend those hours. And
Right.
so, we all can choose to, as I say, to make a difference. I love the quote is really Jane Goodall's, but I've made it my own, that we all make a difference and we get to choose what kind of difference we want to make. So I'm just saying to each of you, you don't have to let fear stop you. You can decide you don't have to have everything perfect, as Natalie is mentioning. Just move forward, and you never realize how many lives you may touch. You may not know that until you get your story out. And then someone will say, wow, you really helped me get through this situation in my life. And I applaud you, Natalie, for being willing to be vulnerable and opening up your story to others who, have had, challenges in their lives, physical or mental, and maybe they're not sure they can get through it. And they
Right.
read the story and they think, wow, she could have died. And it was your mindset, that propelled you forward. I was very moved by your story. I'd recommend your story to anyone.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was probably the first email that I opened after my book published, from a stranger saying, you brought me to tears. You gave me a whole different mindset about legacy. And I'm doing these things now for my great grandchildren. And I was like,
Wow.
So
Yeah.
then, it doesn't matter if it wasn't 100% perfect, you're still getting your message out to the world and making an impact.
Right.
Talking about impact, tell us about what your passion project right now is. I can't wait for you to share it.
I am crowdfunding for a children's empowerment story based on our family's real volunteer healthcare mission in Ecuador with a nonprofit, Causes for Change International. A number of years ago, our family went on 3 different volunteer healthcare missions with Causes for Change, which is providing free healthcare to children in need in Ecuador, as well as advocating for those with disabilities in the United States. And my husband served as the volunteer dentist for people, especially children who had never been to a dentist, who were in great need of help. And we went to places that had no electricity. He was basically pulling teeth and checking to see what the infections were. I was the volunteer musical entertainer because I have a music background, and I got a borrowed.
You just see out there being the entertainer.
Yeah. Amigos. I mean, I know some Spanish, and I did a lot of interactive musical games. They didn't speak any English, but we managed. And then our son, Andrew, was the toothbrushing teacher. You know, he didn't know what could he do. These children never, and adults too, many of them never had a toothbrush before, didn't know how to brush their teeth. So he was educating them, passing out toothbrushes, giving them little paper cups with filtered water and a little dab of toothpaste, so they could then protect the teeth they have, so they could, you know, have good dental health. But the main thing that we all learned was, you know, by giving, you receive. And so the reason I'm so passionate about creating this children's book, which now is starting to go through the illustration phase, it's called Adventures in Ecuador, Diary of a Volunteer. The big picture is to let kids know that their actions matter, and that kindness matters, and that they can have compassion by volunteering in any capacity. They can, you know, really touch people's lives no matter what their age is. And that the other part of this is that we want to unify cultures together to let people know that we're all the same humanity, no matter what our skin color is, our religion, our background. So this book takes children on a journey from the beginning of our trip, where we were asked to gather 1,000 Beanie Babies and stuffed animals. The kids never had a toy, believe it or not, as well as what went on through our trip. And it's written from an imagined perspective of our son as the volunteer diary writer, documenting what happened to us. And at the end of the story, we're going to have information about the founder of Causes for Change, Sully Alvarado, who was a young child stricken with polio in Ecuador, who could have died. She was placed in an orphanage by her family, which was the last stop on our trip, was the orphanage where she stayed. And she was rescued by a priest who brought her to the United States to be able to live again. So she decided she would found Causes for Change to help both her birth country of Ecuador that allowed her to be born, and the country that gave her life, the United States. And given that her nonprofit is a small one, the point of this book is also to shine a light on Causes for Change and be able to support them with our book royalties. So there's a lot of causes behind this.
Right.
But I know that when we bring out more positive stories into our world, we're going to touch more lives, inspire more people to know that they matter and they can make a difference. So that's what we put this book together.
Yeah, that is such a wonderful project in so many ways, you know. So here you are taking a personal story from your lives of your family, how you reached out and did something that you had never done before and made such a difference to these people, these children and adults that had never brushed their teeth, something that we take for granted every day, right? And you have probably changed their lives in many ways with your positivity, the giving, the stuffed animal that they've never had before. I mean, think about our children had tons of Beanie Babies and stuff, and they still got excited if they got a new one. So imagine the thrill of getting their first toy ever, and it's an amazing Beanie Baby that they could keep. So
I'll share a little story that happened on the, I haven't told this to you or anyone before. So my husband had really great stories because he was, you know, front and center, right in their faces. There was one boy, he had a bad abscess. And again, there was no electricity, and he was deaf. His mother communicated with him. She was at his side by just looking into his eyes and trying to communicate through his eyes. And my husband, who speaks fluent Spanish, also, you know, couldn't talk because the boy didn't hear, but they quickly communicated through thought and looking at each other's eyes. And this boy, a lot of kids would just see a shot and scream because they'd never seen shots. He was of giving me Novocaine. This boy was perfectly calm. It was a very difficult procedure because if my husband didn't do the work, he had an abscess, he could have died. And he managed to get it all done. And it was like a huge relief. And the mother was so grateful and the son was grateful. So I wanted to share that because sometimes you don't even know what a difference you'd make, even if someone can't understand your language or
Right.
can't even hear you. They feel your energy. And that's what I think came through, that people recognize we were there because we cared, you know.
That's beautiful. That probably changed your family.
Yes,
A
it did.
story that you can tell to inspire others. I think that every family, when your kids are young, get them into volunteering as a family, because it will change how they see your family, how they see in giving. And as you said earlier, when we give, we receive. And I feel the more we give, the givers actually get the best gift in the world.
It's true.
And it really is. And when you see that through the eyes of your children, and then they come home and see, wow, we're very lucky, but that family or whoever you've helped has made an impact, but it's made an impact on your children, and they really see themselves as different people as well.
I think you see the connection. Whatever you do to volunteer, you feel connected to others. And that brings you more joy and love. We're not really separate. People think we're separate because of, boundary lines between different countries and states. We're really humanity. So
Yeah.
think of it that way. You have more of
Make
a
it fun, right? No matter what you're doing, like for many, many years, I volunteered for Foothills Caring Corps, and that's a agency up here in Cave Creek, Arizona. And what they do is they help inbound elderly to get out and have a little bit of a social life, or get out and do some shopping, or go see a movie, or they had different events. So they would post the event calendar, but many of them were, either with walkers or wheelchairs. So I got trained to drive the wheelchair bus and run the whole thing. So they would put the wheelchair up, we would lift in the ramp, and then I had to learn how to strap down the wheelchair so it was safe. And I called it the party bus. So I'm like, come on. So I was picking up anywhere from like 70-year-olds till 90-some-year-olds. And we would have such a blast. One of the best experiences, I pulled my family in. I said, come on, we've got tickets to the Arizona Cardinals game. We had box seats. They had given us the whole suite for our group. So we got a special place to park the bus because we had a lot of disabled people. And we drove up and we got everyone situated. And so we had the suite that probably held, I don't know, 25, 30 people. And so we had, I can't remember how many bus loads of us. So it's just like kids in kindergarten, you're counting the people you're responsible for. And so we were kind of doing our head count, and all of a sudden one gentleman was gone. And so we're looking around, of course, you're looking in the bathroom and everything. Nope, gone. He had gone out because he wanted a signed shirt or something. Didn't tell anyone. We almost had the stadium shut down.
oh my gosh.
But you know what? Like, it was so cool to see our kids. My husband was there, like on full alert and helping. And just like, this was our family, and we had to find this older gentleman. It was one of those things that ended up being like perfectly fine, because he was fine, just having fun. He just forgot to tell us that he was leaving.
So you remembered that.
Yeah, but it's those times where you put yourself out, maybe in a little bit uncomfortable situation, or doing something that you've never done before. I had never driven a bus that you could hold wheelchair people with wheelchairs and disabilities, and it became one of the highlights of my week. I would look and you see the same people's names, and it's like, oh, I get to see Mr. Jones again this week. But oh yeah, I tried to make it fun for them. I'm like, come on in on the party bus, let's go. Even
So
if
it
we're
raised
going shopping at Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was just thinking it probably raised your awareness of what people with disabilities have to go through. So your life now changed as well, and
Yeah.
your husband, because they've all kind of gone with you through this.
Yeah. Yeah. And you don't realize how secluded that those people can be. So they looked for, even if it was grocery shopping, seeing everyone and, just having conversations and having someone look at the tomatoes with you. And, it was a good time. Yeah. So let's go back to storytelling. This is something that we're seeing more and more every day is AI. How does AI affect storytelling? Should people just say, oh, I don't need someone to help me. I don't need editors anymore. I don't even need to be creative. I'm just going to plop it into AI and say, write something.
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way I see AI is imagine having an expert personal assistant at your side. Or imagine you're on a boat and you have a crew member who's really smart. You're still the director of you're the captain of the ship, you're the director of the program, and AI listens to you. So, and actually I even heard some lawyer use AI for some kind of legal brief and it wasn't right. And he got in big trouble. So you want to direct AI to, answer questions or write out different ideas or tips. But then again, you may not want to accept everything it says, or some little things I found which were really interesting is you could have it write in the style of different personalities.
Oh,
like
for sure.
Right, like Oprah, or write in a old-fashioned style, conservative or whatever.
But that's not you.
No, it's not you, right? So
Right.
it's not authentic. So I have been using AI as a tool, which I then tweak or modify because it may use words that really don't sound like me. So when you use AI, think of it as you've got a great assistant. You could tweak or make changes to along the way. But I wouldn't just take it and use it totally as it is, because maybe it'll sound like someone else. And then how do people know who you are? One point about stories is stories, which I didn't bring up earlier, is by sharing your story, you get people to know, like, and trust you.
Right.
So if you're just using AI, how do they really get to know you? No one has your story, what you went through to survive. And certainly you could ask AI to, create a story for you, but you yourself know what it felt like. So in some cases, I wouldn't necessarily use AI. I mean, you could use it to tweak some words, but you know what you went through. No one else.
Yeah, so maybe for some different ideas or perspectives on something, but I 100% agree with what you're saying. First of all, AI doesn't have heart, doesn't have feelings like we do. And you're right. I could probably say, share a near-death experience of, someone doing this or that. Well, it's sure not what I went through. It's not my story. It's not my feelings. It's not my thoughts as it was happening. So I think it can be very helpful. And you're right. In business, I think more and more of us are going to use it for different things to help us be more creative, maybe reach different people in the technology that we can get our stories out further or faster, or pictures. They're saying that you can do AI pictures that you can say something like, I want to touch groups like Tony Robbins' group. Like, what kind of picture could I bring into? So I haven't done this part yet, but I'm learning a little bit, and it's amazing. But I still think, don't go out there and use it and think it's going to replace your heart and your stories and the personal touch.
Right. And you're in charge, so you can use it for ideas for a blog or for any tips on what you're working for, an article, challenges, people do different 30-day challenges. I'm just saying to you, you're still in charge and you can tweak it or make it your own. If it's something very personal, again, I would write from your own heart and have maybe an editor or someone work with you. You could use AI. It's just that, as you said, it's not you. It's an outside machine that's coming up with words. And then you get to choose what works right for you.
Yeah, I agree. So what are the 3 ways that you help people to tell their stories?
Well, I do. Thank you, Natalie. I have 3 different areas, and I think of them like 3 legs of a step stool. So when you first have a story, and we're all encountering stories every day in our lives, we first need to craft that story and figure out what strategic words will best convey the experience that we're having. So crafting your story is something I help people through. I consult with them and help them in figuring out how to brand their message so it becomes a compelling story.
Right.
So it's called story consulting. The next is telling your story, which can be done through right now, like speaking with others, interviewed, or telling is also writing your story. Some people feel actually more comfortable speaking their story and then going through the transcriptions.
That's me.
And see, okay, how does it sound now? And we can use the words.
Yeah.
That's fine, whatever works. People like to read conversational stories. And then the last and just as important, which you know about, is sharing your story, promoting it. What good is, if you just want to write a story for your own family, that's fine. If you want to make a bigger impact, you need and can now share it with the world with all our modern technology. You can get it out on social media. You can get it out in the networks and TV, radio, print. You can do that, but you only have so many hours in a day. So that's where we want to find people who can help you, like Natalie's team, because if you want to make a big impact, that means you need to put some effort in to sharing your story in as many places as possible to those who would want to hear it.
Right.
So I'm going to just repeat, crafting your story is one way that I help people, telling their short story and promoting it. And I also bring in team people like Natalie to help me. One person, we do a lot we can do here, but together, there's that saying, together everyone achieves more. So you can make a bigger impact through promoting your story.
Exactly. All right, so we're going to wrap it up with a couple legacy questions, but is there anything else that we want to talk about this project, how people can help you, how they should go in and make a donation of any amount, because every little bit will help you move forward and get this amazing story out that will give back to these nonprofits that are making such a wonderful difference.
Thank you. I am looking for sponsors. A sponsor is a person who wants to, or organization who wants to support this story and help cover our publishing costs. So the link to go to is crowdfunder.com, and it's spelled like the word crowd, CROWD. Funder is FUNDR.com, crowdfunder.com / and then the title of my book, Adventures in Ecuador. When you go to that page, you'll get to read about our story. You'll get to watch some videos that I put together, a video trailer about the project, 2 interviews, both with the founder of Causes for Change and another volunteer who went with us, whose life was transformed during her volunteer mission. And then there's different levels of contributions. And for each of these levels, I'm giving you something back. You can, though, pick any level. It starts at $10. You could decide you're going to put in $1. I would appreciate any amount. And what's really nice about crowdfunders, they actually don't take money from the recipient. They may ask you if you could add, $1 more, which would cover their costs. But crowdfunder.com / adventures in Ecuador is the site. And if you're a business and you are already helping empower others, or you're helping those with disabilities, you can put in a contribution that would be even at $100 or a little more, and I will be able to list you as a resource at the back of the book, and I can also help promote you. The crowdfunding project is really like a marketing investment. It's different than a donation where you just give money. In marketing, you get something back. So if you're able to invest any amount of money, I would be most grateful, and you're also going to be supporting Causes for Change International. After the book is published, I will be donating a portion of proceeds to that nonprofit so they can continue to thrive and help other people. So that's about my crowdfunding part. I
Yeah.
forgot the other part of your question.
No, that's just, if anyone wants help in storytelling or getting their message out, how should they get hold of you there? What's the best way?
So my company is called Difference Makers Media for a reason, because I'm here and committed to helping you make a big difference through your story. And I work with people who have causes in their heart, who are visionary leaders or organizations. So if you go to differencemakersmedia.com, you'll find a place where you can put in your name and email, and I'm giving you a free gift, a 7-step strategic story guide with ideas on how to craft your story, how to tell your story, how to promote your story. It's all there for you. I will be updating our gift probably in a few weeks. So if you want to get it now, recommend it. It'll be what we're doing soon is a flip book, Natalie. I have a where you can click a button and the pages will just flip.
I have one of those. They're fantastic. Yeah.
But I just want you to know I appreciate each one of you, and I appreciate you, Natalie, because I believe that we're all here for a reason. And if you're drawn to listening to this interview, then you and I and Natalie, we all share a special kind of energy that we all are connected by wanting to make a difference. And so I want to thank you for that, because we need each of you to bring out your stories into the world, because we need more positive stories to uplift our humanity.
Absolutely. Your story matters. Let's get it out to the world. All right. This is one of my favorite parts, the legacy questions. So, is there any new tradition you've started, or maybe you would like to start?
Yeah, actually this ties in with my favorite leader too. I don't know if you wanted to see both. I was, sometimes you never know how something can affect you. I have started getting up earlier every morning and doing a practice that is being done by millions of people around the world. It's called the Miracle Morning. Have you ever heard of it?
Yes.
And actually, it's changing my life. So the Miracle Morning is a book. It's a movie on Amazon Prime, and it's basically a series of 6 different spiritual practices. It's not a religion. It's just spiritual practices that are basically summarized with the word savers. And those letters stand for an action. S is silence, A is affirmations, V is visualization, exercise, reading, and scribing. So every morning I do these 6 practices, even if it was just a couple minutes each.
Doesn't take long.
Yeah, and it prepares your mind to have a positive mindset the whole day, because we all
a wonderful app. You were the one. This is so funny that you brought this up. When I was writing my book, I remember you said, "Do you know about the Miracle Morning?" And I said, "No." And you said, "Don't go look it up yet. Finish your book, write, and then do it." So I couldn't wait to go, and you said that I wrote a little like hell and had that daily how to start your morning. So after I finished my book, I went and I downloaded the app and I did my first 30-day challenge.
Oh, great.
And it is fantastic. Now, I have gone off and on and off and on, but I was just saying the other day that I want to do another 30-day and get back on, because when you're on, there's no better way to start your day.
Exactly.
Just feel good. You feel like mind, body, and soul. You're ready to conquer anything.
Exactly.
And yeah. So we should start a little 30-day challenge.
I'm on it. Actually, I'm on the challenge right now. And I wanted
to you on.
Well, I had done it without the challenge. I'd been, and sometimes I fell off. So I'm on day 14, but I've been doing it like for a year. And I wanted just to share that years ago, I got to hear Zig Ziglar speak twice, who was the great motivational speaker. And he said something that always stayed with me about mindset. He used to listen to audio tapes in his car, cassettes, that were inspirational talks. And someone told him, "Well, haven't you already listened to enough?" And he said, "If you had one shower, is that enough for your life?"
Right.
I want to give my mind a bath every day, inspire myself. So that's what, if you go to themiraclemorning.com, and this is not a sales pitch, I don't make any money, you know, you will find, all about this program, and you can really transform your life by giving yourself time
Yeah.
for self-development.
I pay for the app because it's just so worth it. And it gives me a little reminder, oh, you didn't do your miracle morning today. So I'm like, okay. Yeah, but I love there's no better way to start your day.
Yes.
So,
And
cool.
I didn't tell you, just so that people know, so the Miracle Morning just didn't come out of thin air. It's a real story it started a story. Hal Elrod had 2 near-death experiences, one from a car crash, one from leukemia. And he was depressed. This was after the first incident. And he asked her, how do I feel better? And the friend said, why don't you go jogging? And he did. He felt better. And so he Googled, what do successful people do to stay happy? And he found 6 different practices, but no one had put them all together. And
the movie's fantastic.
Yes.
It tells his whole story. So very cool. So, second legacy question. What is the one thing you'd most love to be remembered for?
Great, deep question there. Well, I think my business name says it, Difference Makers Media. I want to really feel like I've touched many lives. I haven't quantified at this point. I want to feel, I know I have made a difference already. I think I would love to feel like I'm making an even bigger difference, reaching more people, whether that's 100,000 people or a million people. But my legacy is to know that I've made a difference in many lives, so that people, are happier, and they're more at peace with one another, and they're more caring and loving towards one another.
I love it.
To me, that the key is getting out more stories, a series of stories from people making a difference, and helping everyone realize that we all make a difference.
Absolutely. Well, that's a perfect way to stop. Thank you, Lynn. We will post all the links, how to get hold of Lynn, and then go to the crowdfunder. Remember, it's spelled crowd and then funder with the R, not the ER. So we'll have that in the show notes. Go and make a $1 donation or $100 donation, or whatever your heart tells you to. It's going to pay back and be such a blessing. But then once you make your donation, please go share with a couple friends that would be inspired with Lynn's story and want to see it come to full fruition soon.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Have a great day.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of Create Your Legacy podcast. If you would like to share your legacy story with Natalie or get your legacy book started, please reach out at giftsoflegacy@gmail.com. Be sure to add my legacy stories in the subject line. We would love to help you share your legacy message out to the world. Natalie would like to invite you to join our private Facebook group, Create Your Legacy Life. She shares tips on book publishing, ways to create and leave your legacy, and she interviews the most amazing legacy creators sharing their moments of purpose, gratitude, wisdom and tradition, and of course, their legacy stories.